YouTube. So this is Your Brain is a Time Machine, the Neuroscience and Physics of Time. And well, currently I could give you guys an update on what I'm doing. So this is a book that I've read, I want to say around 5 to 6 days ago. So this is a relatively old read for me. But I decided to make this video simply because I'm in the process of reading The Decline and Fall of the Roman Empire. And I didn't know how I wanted to make that video. If it was going to be, well, I'm still in the process of reading it, but I didn't know if I wanted the video to be like just me talking about some chapters and kind of summing it up that way, or just me doing the whole book. Well, volume 1, the first book in the series. But I think I'm just going to do it by book because I don't want to have like videos for, I want one video per book. That's basically what I'm trying to say. So I'm just gonna make a video on that when I'm done with it. But like I said, I'm pretty much halfway done, so you can expect that within tomorrow. Especially since I'm gonna be reading a lot today, so you can expect that tomorrow. So now we can answer the main questions about this book. So number one, what was the book about? And this book was pretty much, yeah, I could say pretty much, they kind of just defined time in this book. This this book was basically a definition of time and the different ways that it's portrayed. So of course, number two, what did they talk about? And since I'm not gonna be using my notes, like I said, I don't use my notes anymore. I'm just gonna go off of what I remember. There's some specific things that I wanted to talk about, and a cool thing that they talked about. So the first thing is that time is subjective. And I know what this word means simply because of a past book I read on consciousness. So subjective is, it's just strictly for you. So time, just like how I think it was Einstein or another famous scientific person, but he said, he or she said, beauty is in the eye of the beholder. And that pretty much correlates exactly with the subjective time theory, because time, while it goes on, like this 1 second, it goes on, but it might go faster for you than me, or it might go faster for me to you. And this also correlates with flow states. And, I felt flow states before, and, well, honestly, it usually happens daily. Just the time just flies by. And, I talked about it. I get a lot of work done when I'm reading and when I have fun reading. So, so time is subjective. And this is something that I'm pretty sure everyone knew. Like with school, this is an example that I feel like the teachers always bring up. That, if you have fun and you actually try and engage with school and the work that you have to do, the the time will fly by. Everything will go by quickly, and you'll have a fun time doing it. So the next thing that I wanted to talk about was the calendar, and this is something that I really wanted to know. I wanted to know, why is there 2,000 years? Why is the year 2021 if the Earth has been around longer than that, and if humans have been on the Earth longer than that? Humans have been on the Earth for, I think, more than 20,000 years. I know agriculture started up around 10,000 years ago. So yeah, humans have been on the Earth maybe even 200,000 years. Or the oldest, I'm pretty sure the oldest fossil found is either 1 million or 100,000. It's one of those, but I know we've been on this earth a long time. Like who? I know people say Christ, that the years were started because of Christ, but I don't think that I don't think that that's true. Especially like right now when I look outside and I see the birds. Sorry, hear the birds. Like I think like this has been around for a long time. Like it hasn't just been 2,000 years. All the elements that have been created. It's I read another book on this topic, The Reason Why, and that also talked about how the humans came to be and why the Earth is special in astronomical terms. Oh, but the calendar, sorry. I went off topic. So the calendar, it was first created, well, not first created, but it was redone by, of course, Julius Caesar. And I'm pretty sure 46 AD, the same year he died, the same year he was assassinated. And he came up with the leap year, or him and his best people did. And after that, the the Pope at the not the Pope at the time, the Pope maybe 1,000 years later or 500 years later came up with having leap years every 100 years to every 400 years. And Pope Gregory did this. So the calendar we use today is called the Gregorian calendar. And the calendar, I'm not too sure on how accurate it really is on depicting what really happens. But I think it's fine. That's really it. It's the calendar is fine. I don't well, at the moment I can't think of another alternative to track time. So if it's the best thing we got, then we could use the calendar to track our time. Now we can go on when I said that, we could go on the definition of what is time. And time is basically what's on the clock. That's the exact definition they gave. Maybe not exact. Don't quote me on that actually. But time is just what's on the clock. Without without time or sorry, without clocks, we would just recognize time from our perspective. And man, I forgot the exact word. I'm pretty sure it's retrospective. Retrospective thinking, which is basically how we or our guess for what time it is. And it's usually wrong. Just to put that, like when they say, or when someone asks, I should say, not what they say, but when someone asks you, how long has it been? And you give your estimation of time, that's probably different from theirs. But the time itself, there's a specific time, and ours is just retrospective. So ours is a guess to the real thing. And the real thing just keeps going. That's the thing with time. It just keeps going, but you can enhance your time in general if if you do things that you enjoy. Like with me and reading. When I go through and just read, like I said, time just flies and I gain a lot of information. And also I just feel better. So if you spend your time doing things that you enjoy, or at least try new things out if cuz I don't know if I would recommend for someone to like say you enjoy just doing I'm not sure what people do, but video games. That's something I used to do and I really enjoyed it. And I have great memories about it. But I don't think it was the smartest thing to do. Like for instance, now that I'm reading a lot, it's really benefited me. I don't want to go into examples with that, but it's really benefited me. So next, I wanted to talk about a cool study. Oh, we can go into some of the physics of time actually before we go into the study they showed. So some of the physics are well, it has to do with Einstein's theory of relativity and his second principle in the theory of relativity, which is light speed is constantly viewed the same, no matter no matter your relativity. If the light's coming straight at you, if you're looking at the light, if you're not looking at the light, light speed stays the same. So that's the same thing with time. Whether or not we like when we're sleeping, the time it still goes by in seconds and minutes, but it still has to do with our subjective experience. Because like this video, me making this video, the time passed by relatively quickly. relatively quickly, but it still passed by in seconds. So that's a cool thing. And also another theory that I wanted to touch on was the theory of whether or not everything is in the present, or if there's the past, present, and the future at the same time. And at first, I thought it's just the present, because with other books I've read on consciousness, the answer that I perceived from them was that you're just conscious for the moment. So like my consciousness now, it doesn't mean nothing to my consciousness 10 seconds ago. That could also do with how bad our, I can't say bad, but how subpar our working memory is and our short-term memory. So, but then when I thought about it, and with astronomical terms, the how the stars are, and how when we look through, for instance, when we look through the Hubble telescope, and by we I mean how humans and scientists at the time look through the Hubble telescope, and they can see stars that were, you know, 10 light years old. And when they look at those stars, that's time of the past. So I feel like it's not just the present that we can see or that we feel, but we also feel the past too. And I'm not sure about the future. Well, I know that we can see the future, like I talked about with our brain. They talk about this too in the neuroscience, how we perceive the present. Sorry, we can think of the past with episodic memories, and we can also think of the future. So, so the future may be there, but I don't think there's a way for us to necessarily look into the future. But we can definitely look into the past and obviously in the present. But I'm not sure if we can look into the future yet. Maybe with a I don't know, a different type of telescope, we can look into the future. So now we can get into the cool study that I thought was cool with time, and it was about an office worker, and they were mentioning that the meeting is gonna be 2 days forward. Now, the way that you perceive this can be different, and that's the thing about time. The perception of it is is opposite of physics, basically, because there's the calendar. So there's Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and the meeting is gonna be held Thursday, and the person said it's gonna be moved 2 days forward. So is it gonna move actually 2 days forward to Friday and Saturday, or is it gonna move 2 days backwards to Wednesday and Tuesday? And that's the cool thing, because it would actually move 2 days backwards, because in forwards it would be walking forward, and backwards you would be walking backwards from like if you're standing on the day, you'd be walking backwards. So time, it actually is reverse of physics, which is it's pretty cool, honestly. It lets us know that there's still things out to be learned, and there's still a lot of laws to be learned with the universe and things. But that's just one cool one that I thought was really neat, and I was actually very surprised reading that, because when you read it, it's like, wow, really? But I was really excited reading that. That was a really cool part that I enjoyed reading. So thank you, author, for putting that in there. So now we can talk about, is this book true? And just because this is a theoretical work, and I feel like only theoretical works cannot be true and whole, unless I'm biased. I'm really biased about the book, but or so I should say. So this book is true in part, simply because they mention just theories in general, and not every theory can be. I'm sure the author didn't mean the theory to be true, but not every theory can be true. So it's true in part. And what's the meaning of this book? Well, at the end of this book, they showed, or the author, he gave a quote about time and kind of how we should spend it. And the quote he said was, actually, don't quote me on this. I could open my notes, but I'm gonna try and go at it with what I know. There are 86,400 seconds in a day, and you should spend that time with the people you love and with what you love doing. And that's pretty much the meaning of this book is, we're all equal in a sense that we have the same amount of time per day, but it's how you spend it. You know, like with me, I feel like I'm doing a little better now with spending my time instead of spending it frugally like I was in the past to, learn something and not only learn something but to have fun doing it. So it's really important that you find something that you like doing too. And this is Your Brain is a Time Machine.